3, 2, 1.
Hey, no, sync. Good.
Who's going to do the introductions?
You.
No, you do it.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Friendly Jimmies podcast, where we talk about basically things that are just filtering around in the news and movies Miss Love seen, and then Ali tries to relate those to movies that he saw in the early 2000s that have nothing to do with those films.
And eating disorders.
And their insecurities as well, of course.
So clearly this is the best part.
Stay tuned, sign up to our Patreon for extended content of that.
Okay, so let's start with the news. Well, give us an overlay of what do you think about Peter Dutton as the opposition leader?
He's good. He's real good.
Really? How do you know? Have they sat in Parliament yet?
No, but I've seen him in his little press conference, and he is amazing. He's so effective.
What does he
And
say? How is
exactly
he effective?
the same as
How's
every
he
other
effective?
Liberal politician ever, but
How is he effective when he looks like the bad guy from Harry Potter and no one
Well, you can't
really
say
wants
that
his
anymore, right?
policies?
Didn't Tanya Plebiscite have to apologize for that?
yeah, and I've got a bone to pick with Labor. I'm just going to have to move into the exact same territory as Bill Maher and sitting there just being like, the Labor Party really needs to get over this cancel culture. That was
Sorry,
incredible.
Ali,
It was
I'll
just,
start
I
doing
really,
this
it's you know what I think that is? I think that is the press, as I've said before, are all a bunch of geeks from school, and as a result of that, they don't like appearance calls. But everybody else who is a normal, adjusted human being that went to a public school knows that that's not the worst thing in the world. But to them it is, because they're that insecure. And you can see all the press obsessing over it, being like, hey, oh my God, I've definitely said that on Twitter and just deleted that, me saying it 6 years ago, but now we can hit the Labor Party on it. And Anthony Albanese plays into it, I think, because he knows that the press just never shut up about appearance and no substance. And then they go on and ask Peter Dutton for an hour after his press conference where he announces what his platform will be and why it's different. And the whole thing is just, Peter Dutton, gay people hate you because you're homophobic. What's your response to that? Peter Dutton, you hate women, which is amazing. Now they do this thing and they're just being like, no, we're just going to cut on Susan Lay, who just sits there and stares blankly into the camera. He's like, as a woman, I fully support Peter Dutton. And then he just steps back on. It's just this weird little ritual that Canberra has created because of all their cuckness. And you can see it. Every single question. You hate gays. You hate immigrants. You hate women. Every single one. There wasn't one substantive question. Not one.
On policy.
Well, so what happens now? This 3 years of Labor, is that going to be the flavor of the season, just those questions, or are we going to have some policy discussions?
No, we never have policy discussions, but it is the rot has seeped in, Ali. It didn't used to be this way, Ali. It used to be this way at all.
All right, so I suppose...
Like, in the old days, Bobcat would have just come out with a whip and just be like, get out, cuck. And that's how it should have stayed.
So what happens now? Do you think...
With a bull whip. Fuck. Wouldn't that be great? You're from Hack, are you? Hack this.
Would Peter Dutton be able... Is Peter Dutton able to now get appeal to the teals and reinvent his image?
No, Christ, no. He's not doing that. He's just going straight into the suburbs. And...
Right.
He's good at doing it, and I honestly think, because the whole idiot press, it's amazing. Christo was pointing this out. I was kind of thinking about it a lot, but he tied it all in together very well. You listen to Sky News, it has excellent breakdowns of demographics. It has excellent breakdowns of what strategy should be for the Liberal Party, because all they do is talk to Liberal politicians. Then you listen to the bubble in The Guardian, the ABC, the Sydney Morning, people... It's like they've never spoken to a politician, or the whole time they're just sitting there just being like, what do I categorise that sentence as? We've got 3 box checks. Is you're homophobic, racist, or sexist? Let's go through the sexist window this time. Go. That's all they're thinking the whole time. They're morons, absolute morons. And they were, I think that now that Dutton is in, he's got a gravitas to him that Scott Morrison didn't have. And I think in the last election, and it's so obvious as well, you just talk to the average person, they just hated him because he's smug and annoying, and he clearly looks like a jelly bean that should be smug about anything.
He sucked.
That was it. He just sucked.
He sucked.
He sucked. But Peter Dutton, and I truly think this, you can sit there and be like, hey, evil. He look evil and scary. It's like, yeah, but with that comes gravitas.
Right. At least
There comes authority. And he has that stern cop voice. You know,
he's an ex-cop, right?
An ex-cop. He is like he has the demeanour of exactly what the Liberal Party should be, which is that Tony Abbott party of just no nonsense, strict dad. I've never laughed once in my life.
How about the argument that like people are saying where it's like it's good that he's the opposition leader because he's kind of, you know, he's kind of like the worst of that side in terms of just being like, I don't give a shit. I reckon the world's flat. It's like these graphs here of the world being circular. It's like, fuck off, you know? That's a good thing for Labor.
No, because he's not like that. You
Right.
listen to him speaking. He's a lot more pragmatic than Tony Abbott is. He's not one of those people that just sits there. He's better at, and he's also better at framing it constantly in this way of, no, this is silly, this doesn't make any sense at all, and gives reasons for it. And this is the other thing that I think is severely lacking, and I've always said this about Peter Dutton. He's Paul Keating minus the brilliant homosexual flair of him. You know,
What?
like,
Really?
I think he is.
Holy shit.
He's a very deep thinker.
Dude, it's finally
He's got
happened.
Vision.
Jordan just
knows
goes against the grain. He can't not do
Yeah, I
it.
like
Just
the Liberal Party. I
the Labor Party, like he's just switched. It's just
Yeah,
like,
that's
mean, my hatred of the minor party has switched to the Nationals instead of the Greens.
dude, the eternal underdog. Jordan is the eternal underdog. He's not comfortable in the fucking winning seat. He can't.
I'm not. Okay, I feel very uncomfortable. This is
Yeah.
a hot seat.
Yeah.
I'm not
Holy
into it.
shit.
Well, so actually, one of the things that a lot of people are asking is, are you going to talk about the Labour government the same way you were talking about the Liberal government? I suppose, what do you
Obviously
want?
not.
No, obviously not. But like,
that's a dumb
What do you
question.
want Labour to be doing in the next 3 years? Do you have anything that you particularly care about?
Yeah, they've outlined exactly what they're going to be doing in the next.
No.
3 years.
They've outlined it, but is there something that you want them to do?
Yes, and this is the other thing because, okay, the one quote-unquote substantive issue that you will hear the press talk about over and over again is climate change. You know why they talk about climate change? I was thinking about it a lot. Climate change is another culture war. It's another identity politics thing. It's not, people are just going to say like, yeah, it's a scientific issue. Yeah, it is a scientific issue, but it has been so propagandized that it has become a culture war. And so the reason that the press are always talking about it is because in their head it ticks that box of like, oh, you mean minorities and all that kind of stuff, right? That's why that's the only substantive thing they talk about, and they don't really talk about anything substantive after 2050 targets and don't really care what they say after that, just as long as they say 2050 targets. But my thing is, I actually do, again, like I'm just going for the underdog here, but I do agree with the Murdoch press's point of it's 1% of emissions and it matters more about what China and the US does with that. The reason that I think that Australia should be moving towards those is because of the economic benefits that you will get from moving out of climate change. But in terms of, and also this would play into it, but forestry and like agricultural management would be better. But that's the thing that as a federal government, you should be focusing on in protecting this country. You should be focusing on land clearing, plastics, pesticides, the fact that the Murray-Darling is permanently changed. And you will never hear the press ask any of those questions about that. And that's what I will be focusing like laser hawk on to the Labor government. And I'm sure that they will deliver, like they have delivered since the 80s on environmental legislation. But other than that, go nuts. And on top of this, I hate all these people being like, you got to hold them to account like the Liberal Party. You can't hold them to the account like the Liberal Party because they're government. They're a competent government. They actually do rebuild the public institutions of this country that keep it ticking over. So what am I going to do? Come out there and just say, oh, the Labor Party's terrible. Why? Because it appeals to some dickheads on Reddit that just like being negative for no reason.
And what do you think about
agree with
like the comparison of Albo's Tokyo visit to ScoMo's Hawaii one?
Well, I mean,
see
they
that?
have a point.
Ah, fuck. How good's that? He leaves.
On steroids. It was worse. It was worse.
What is it, Paul Murray? We are the revolution.
But do you know why
The
it was worse?
resistance. And that's what I'm going to be calling it from now on. Every time I refer to Peter Dutton, I'm going to be referring to him as Peter Dutton, deputy leader of the resistance.
Yeah.
Paul Murray
He's the leader.
Yes. Parliament got a whole lot fatter.
Do you know why the Murdoch media was saying that the Tokyo visit was bad?
Sorry?
Do you know why they compared it to
where
Hawaii?
Albanese picked off. Poor Murray.
Yeah, that's right.
Eating a donut with his watches like the Rush Limbaugh guy. Just like,
Yeah. I don't know why they throw out these cold sponge cakes. They're perfectly fine after the use-by date. 3 to 4 days at least. This is what's happening in this country.
expiry dates are another liberal scam to try to regulate what you decide to put in your body. I haven't got food poisoning yet.
Anyone on the dole that says they're hungry, go to a local dive and get some of that chocolate cake. You haven't got an excuse. If I can do it, you can do it, my friends.
If you guys...
Dude, it's ridiculous. The comparison is ridiculous. He didn't leave in a global fucking natural disaster. He left for like a few days because it was his like parliamentary duty. Like what?
Yes.
What like he should have been here.
No,
doing
I know
nothing.
that. I know that, but I want to know why Paul Murray thinks it was worse than the Hawaii
He's
visit.
a fucking idiot, dude.
Yeah, but he must have some reason.
No, because
Yeah, can anyone tell us in the comments? Because that's all I heard. Was
dude,
that
here's the
thing.
reason. If you're dogmatic about politics, then you'll find any excuse to hate on the opposite
is
side.
true.
And that's what Sky News does. They're like, dude, anything. They will pick on anything. They'll be like, one of his shoes is scuffed up, scuffy elbow. You know, the whole media does it. So it's like, that's an obvious answer, right?
No
Yes.
one knows the reason. Everyone's like, they
I
never
just
had
told you
reasons.
the reason.
That is the reason, but I want to know his reason, his truth.
Oh, dude, you can, okay, this is what he would say. He'd be like, he'd say something like, he'd be like, how's it any different? He had to get his parliament in order. He shouldn't have went over there. And what for? Well, actually, wasn't it for defense?
Yeah, it was to
for-
make
What has he got to
the
complain
meeting that
about?
Scott Morrison set up.
What has he got to that is like,
Oh,
that
okay,
is
okay, here we go.
insane.
Here's the reason.
What?
The reason was that he was leaving portfolios unattended to be assigned by invisible Labour Party insiders without input from Albo or some shit like that.
Bullshit. What, he didn't know?
Yes, I'm sure shadowy figures decided to put everyone in the portfolio, and they hadn't been discussing that for the last
And also-
9 years.
Exactly.
And Albo didn't have
Exactly.
phone.
Penny-
He was like,
Yeah.
he couldn't be called up to like. Well, so you're saying insiders are nominating the cabinet, and Albo has no, because he's like too busy like admiring Hello
try
Kitty.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, Penny Wong. Well, I didn't know why she was here, but if some cunt says so, I don't think that's what happened.
Oh my God, she was shadow foreign affairs minister, and now in government she's foreign affairs minister. I am a puppet.
One of the other-
I don't like this shadow business. Is she shadowy? Is that what that means?
Yeah, because she's that inexperienced.
Okay, another thing against Albo is this picture. Apparently, paparazzi took a picture of him in the morning when he was out to get his newspaper.
That's a fucking legend. That's
and
a
he
guy
was
who's been
wearing pajamas, UGG boots, and the criticism was that a man that comes out of his house like this, can we trust him with our economy and our country?
dude. Yes. Bob Hawke did that. Yes, that is the Australian way. What is wrong with people?
I don't get
what
it.
the hell is wrong with people? It's like you can't win with them. He's dressed up. He's too phony and corporate. Oh, he looks like he's too relaxed. He's wearing a jersey. What the fuck do you want? What do you want?
Yeah, what do you want?
You don't know what you want.
You don't know. Like, this
You
is the
don't
whole thing.
fucking
All
know.
the press do is bitch. That's it.
all they can do.
That's all they do,
Bitch.
bitch.
Bitch and moan and bitch and bitch,
Bitch and
and
moan.
bitch.
And Pedestrian made fun of it by his, keeping a picture of Albo wearing a suit as his Tinder profile and his pajamas as his. And
Oh my God! And in true pedestrian fashion, it deserved no actual words at all, and instead 10 cry laugh emojis.
Dude, I'm really coming around to this idea of yours, Jordan, that the media sucks. And that they're kind of useless and superfluous. It's just
They are.
Yeah. I'm
That's all I'll be hammering. You want to know what my content's going to be for the next 3 years? I'm not even going to be focusing on Dutton that much. I'm just going to be focusing on
The
how
media.
bad the questions are that the media pose Dutton.
Dude, you know what? Actually, Albo and the Labour government already have one victory to celebrate.
Which is...
also
Penny
leave the man
Wong-
the fuck alone. Leave him the fuck alone. I didn't see ScoMo photos of him getting his.
I mean,
anyway,
his
sorry, go
hair
on.
does look very messy.
Yeah,
not
what was
very
it?
prime ministerial.
It looks better like that.
Yeah, it
Looks like Sid
hot.
Vicious.
Yeah, he does.
Um,
And I want to see him in Parliament wearing his Newtown Jets jersey.
That'd
That's
be great.
so much more Aussie.
That would be great.
after
None of this Rabbitoh shit. Show me real representation.
After the Solomon Islands, Chinese had offered security packs to a lot of the Pacific countries like Fiji, the ones that are close to us. And after Penny Wong going there, and she sort of talked them out of it, and they've rejected the deal.
What?
With China.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Not the Solomon Islands, that one's already done. But Fiji has come out and said, and a few of the other nations have currently
they're already
rejected it.
pulling their weight like geopolitically.
And by only saying...
Is that pedestrian article?
And she didn't even promise them the moon and stars. She just said that we'll promise that we'll always be a good voice for climate change, because that's one of the biggest issue for them. And secondly, that we're not going to forget about you. We'll give you aid and shit.
Was it really that hard?
Dude, can I just say, you are allowed to be more sympathetic to Labor, because I've always said you are, and that's fine. You're not some. I hate all this shit of people just being like, "Are you going to be?" It's like if you genuinely believe that they might make mistakes, but that's not necessarily conducive to let's look at the big picture here. You know what I mean? Let's look at the big fucking picture, and the big picture is the boat's moving in this direction. So you can just be like, it's fine, just relax. Fuck off all this. You shouldn't feel obliged at all to be like, oh, well, this policy is good, but the last 3 dot points, they're sort of up in the air. Just who gives a fuck? Just come on. Big picture. Move along. You don't have to do that.
It's
You don't have
truly
to do
infuriating,
that.
because
Yeah.
it's just
But
that
don't
same
just
thing
ignore-
of just
yeah.
everybody on the internet wanting an excuse to be negative for no reason. It's just like, oh, I'm sorry. We've got truly...
It's been 3
on
days.
all the stats, up there, at the very least, top 5 governments on Earth. Right up there with all the countries that you fantasize about with your little bloody cosplayers of if only we were like Germany, if only we were you've got it now, and you want to complain.
Yeah, just shut up. Everyone can shut up for a little bit.
Yeah.
Speaking of big picture, I want to...
I don't mean you guys, just
I can't remember his name, but the guy who called us during the live stream and said, have you guys checked out Peter Zeihan?
Yeah.
I got into Peter Zeihan rabbit hole.
Oh.
And
I'm glad one of us did.
Yeah, and dude, he is one of the cool things about him is that he predicted the Ukraine war 5 years ago to the fucking year. So
What was his reasoning for it?
okay, so his reasoning was
Stunned.
he's obsessed with he's obsessed with demographics and population of countries. So he's saying that Russian population has peaked, and now the number of people that are in Russia is going to narrow down very, very quickly. So he said that Russia needs to really act now. The reason why they need to act now is because they need to plug 8 or 7 holes that have been used in its history to get invaded. Apparently, Russia's been invaded over 40 times. And so he said that Ukraine is only the beginning of this, and they need to act now because of the demography changing. So if they don't do it now, they never will be able to. They got fucked over after they lost the Cold War, and all of these holes were just basically, they couldn't really do anything about it then because they were too weak. So now they're in a position where they can at least try to do something. So he's saying that Ukraine is the first stop. Also, they don't just want Eastern Ukraine, they want all of Ukraine. And after Ukraine, they're going to go into these other territories like Bulgaria, which is a NATO member. So we're looking at some serious war ahead.
Can I just say this is very Byzantine?
Is it?
It's sick that whole region, the same geopolitics have been going on there since the Middle Ages. You want for the exact same reasons as well. You want to plug up the holes of your decreasing population, and you want to do that by enslaving all the Slavs.
And now he's saying that the Ukraine war is going to get really ugly. Because,
What, really?
Yeah, because
Wait,
what they figured out
because-
with their loss in taking over Kiev and Western Ukraine was that you can't really do it in an easy way. You can't be too lenient on people. So he is saying that the new Russian way of doing it is destroying all of the civilian infrastructure. What that does is it sort of stratifies the people into two communities. One become refugees that leave, and it also makes it easier because the ones that are left are soldiers, so you can kill anyone.
Wait, can you just summate the reason again for someone who has a shit attention span?
Yeah.
Did you say their population is dropping?
Yeah. So
They're
he
leaving.
talks about
People are leaving Russia.
no, like just
Not
age-
having enough babies.
not having enough babies.
a declining birth
So
rate.
a declining birth rate.
So their solution is to just expand the.
No, plug the hole so that when they're weaker, they don't get invaded. And they can only do it now because right now they have.
Oh, I got you.
So population demographics are only going to get
That's interesting
worse.
that the population is dropping because that seems to be more like an affluent characteristic. Like when your affluence goes up, your birth rate goes down. But Russia isn't some like I know there's Moscow's affluent.
It's not an affluent thing. It usually comes with industrialization. But he also said that Russia will never be able to. We would never be able to defeat Russia conventionally. So he says if there's a NATO war with Russia and U.S. fight Russia and the rest of the world fights Russia, then Russia is going to be like, they're going to lose the war immediately because we know from Ukraine that their military isn't good enough. However, you can't sanction Russia into submission because Russia has a few advantages.
Oil,
One, their
gas.
biggest exports are the things that are needed for basic human survival. So oil and gas, which everyone knows about, that is basically your domestic energy needs being covered. Secondly, their second biggest exports are food, fertilizers. Again, something that this is Ukraine and Russia both, something that you need. If everyone puts a sanction on you, you have enough supply of food for yourself. So basically, all he's saying is that what the sanctions are going to do is reduce the standard of living of Russians, but not force them to basically give up.
Yeah, of course, that makes sense.
But do you think that
So which means that the war is going to continue. Now, he is saying that that's going to have devastating impacts on on South Asia and Middle East. Basically, he's saying that we're moving towards massive famines.
what?
People are going to die of starvation.
What from Russia's not like the food
Russia
bowl
and
of-
Ukraine produce a huge quantity of food, grain supply, and fertilizer supply, which is required to produce your own grain if you had to do it.
It's all
The other
way
thing
up
is,
there, huh?
this is just like a small thing. So his analysis is that the U.S. After the Second World War was the only military that could ensure global security, and they did that by bribing most of the countries to basically form one unit with them against the Soviet Union. And one of the advantages of that was that the U.S. basically opened up the global trade market for all of these countries that were siding with the U.S. And so all of our systems are dependent on U.S. basically providing security for the world so that all the trade can flow through without it being like sort of taken up by pirates or other countries that want to mess with you. And even in instances where countries try to do that, like Iran would seize tankers and stuff, the U.S. would basically bomb them for them to submit. So Peter Zeihan is saying that in the last, and he was saying this during the Obama administration, he was saying that the U.S. sort of attitude over this has changed. One of the big reasons for his change is that U.S. had to do this back in the day because they were dependent on energy supplies from the Middle East, which they're not anymore. The U.S. is self-sufficient in energy. The cost of producing their oil and gas reserves is lower than the OECD average. So they don't need the world for their energy. And the other thing that he's saying is that the political will for maintaining this global structure has dwindled, whether it be the neoconservatives or the neoliberals in the U.S. So now you have successive U.S. presidential candidates, and none of the candidates are talking about this global empire in the same way. And he was saying this before Trump even came on. And so it was basically kind of his prediction that came true with Trump. And he's now saying that all of the shit that Trump was saying about China, Biden is cementing it in policy now. So what he is saying is basically the U.S. is going to retreat and not be the security guarantor of this area.
But who will be affected? What, China?
Yes, and so his view on China is that China
Who else will be?
is going to collapse soon. This is his view.
Because you know what the irony of that is? The irony of that is kind of like it would be in China's interest for America to intervene.
Well, that's what Peter Zeihan is arguing.
Yeah. Oh my god.
That the biggest beneficiary of this U.S. brokered global peace deal was China. Once it sided with the U.S. against the Soviet Union under the Nixon, they built their economy based on these complex supply chains where they became sort of producers of a lot of this manufacturing that they were supplying to the world and as a result got rich. He's saying that there's a few problems where this is going to collapse. One, once the U.S. moves away from the area, the oceans are going to be less secure. And once they're less secure, countries like Japan, China, Korea are all going to fight to find out who basically controls these oceans, which is going to kill the supply chain. So according to him, COVID supply chain sort of breaking away, they're never going to come back. Basically getting trade from one place to another is going to become much more difficult in this uncertain world. And this is a problem for China on two folds. One, unlike the US, China depends a lot on energy from the Persian Gulf, because they're not self-sufficient in energy. So they're always going to want to have that trade going. And in this new world where trade is going to be like, there's going to be a sort of a fight over the oceans, their supply is going to be constantly blocked, and that means lights out for China. The other thing that he's saying is that the one-child policy has had devastating effects on the Chinese demographics, to the point where China is sort of aging at a really fast rate.
Shit.
And he is saying that most of China's sort of wealth comes from non-value added, so less value added manufacturing, which depends on other markets that are not going to be available to it once the supply chain collapses.
Is that maybe not good for like world peace though? Because
No,
America
his
and
new
China
book, which I've
will,
ordered,
like, chill more.
Dude, his new book, which I've ordered and I'm
Yeah.
waiting for, is called "The End of the World is Just the Beginning."
Yep. Well,
So he's
catchy.
basically saying that the world is headed towards just one of the most uncertain times.
But in a way,
In recent
it
history.
sounds like by certain superpowers being threatened, like America's not threatening them; they're pulling away, and then these other areas are sort of these other situations are threatening them. Doesn't that mean that de-escalates the like aggroness between China and America?
Yes, he's saying that it might de-escalate, but according to him, that once U.S. backs away and it de-escalates, that would kill China.
Well, sure, there's no losers really, apart from China. But
Because then
they've had a good run. Yeah.
so, and the other
5,000 years ain't bad.
The other thing he's saying is that Chinese demographics are so bad that, again, same thing with Russia. Russia is sort of far ahead, but China is getting there where they're not going to be able to sort of fight their way to win, because they're not going to have a population that is young enough to fight these wars.
Dude,
And
we're back, baby. We're back.
now, so this is his sort of view. Now, according
Everyone, sound the alarms. We're back.
And coming for his new book, We're Back, Baby, We're Back.
And then in brackets,
in terms of Australia, he doesn't
Just
talk.
Australia, yeah.
He doesn't talk a lot about Australia, but there's a few sort of advantages that we have in this new world. So he's basically saying that we're going to move away from this capitalist world and we're going to go back to an old school mercantile where whatever your country has
this is sick.
is what's going to be.
This is great.
This is what the world wants.
This is what I want.
I want it to.
I'm sick of this
Except
interconnected.
except that you can source supply from spheres of your influence. So America would be able to depend on
Good.
Mexican.
It's a little bit more like, what's the term? Not populist. Whatever the term is. It's like relying
Nationalist.
on. Yeah, basically. Without the killing. You know?
Now for Australia's
they'll be
context, if his worldview is
they'll be killing.
if he ends up being right,
Yeah.
in this world we have overall we're in a better position because dude, Asia is fucked if he's right. They're gonna be screwed hard. So but Australia, we have a few advantages and we have a few disadvantages. One of the big advantages is that we are rich in terms of energy
Resources.
supplies, right? So we have our coal, we have our gas, we've got we've got huge renewable potential, which a lot of these countries would really kill for. We have an isolated enough geography that it's not easy to invade us.
That Delhi and Perth.
However,
Yeah.
our entire
Didn't know that, did he?
most of our economy is based on trade with what is
China.
which not just China but rest of Asia,
No,
Japan.
but surely China can secure our borders and use us as their
Not
little
if
trading
they're
bag.
fighting with us.
But this is the whole thing. If the US is retreating and they're just leaving China to its own devices, then it just inevitably moves into the phase that Paul Keating is saying is inevitably going to happen.
Yeah, but then there's a big distance between us and China in terms of waterways. We're gonna have to go through the
Yeah.
South China Sea.
So?
and according to Peter Zeihan, the South China Sea is going to be a battleground. So our
Between the US
ships
and China.
according to him, not even the US and China and rest of Asia. So Japan, Philippines, Malaysia, they're going to be fighting. Our best bet is actually for our labor, for manufacturing products, is going to be Southeast Asia. So Indonesia, Malaysia. We might be able to control the waterways between us and them. But what happens when it goes to East Asia is, according to Peter Zeihan, our ships might not even be able to get there.
It's fine.
Because of so
Nah, I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
I'm not saying that what he's saying is absolutely right, but
It makes sense.
I'm giving you his sort of analysis.
I mean, it's a different perspective. That's for
I
sure.
think one of the things that I think about is sort of a weakness in his argument is that it assumes that if America, let's say America does retreat, and there's a vacuum in East Asia over who controls the waterways, the assumption is that they won't be able to figure it out. That there'll be a fight, and there won't be stability. But maybe they are able to figure it out.
I just think that, wouldn't Asia become a region? And it just go back to those old days of China is clearly the head of the hegemony here, and everyone is just going to have to get in line with that. And Asian countries are fine with falling in line.
Yeah, but according to him, if Chinese demographics are looked at, by the year 2050, the Chinese population is going to halve.
And
So there'll be
that's still 500 million people.
500 million people. However, you can't keep the state as it is. 500 million people means your economy is going to definitely contract. So the other thing is, when your population ages, Japan is the only country where you can see how that works. So Japan is aging pretty badly, and they're at the most advanced stage.
Robots.
And so they've invested a lot into robotics and automation to help them.
Peter,
Why do you think I'm still alive?
But
Sorry, go on.
in a world where supply chain collapses, automation is going to become really difficult because
But they can get their materials for their automation from us, surely.
they can theoretically, but who is to guarantee that the passage between Australia and Japan is going to be safe?
China.
Maybe China would be in competition with Japan, so they would have incentive not.
I'm
for
sure
it.
they'd be in competition with Japan, but the US is in competition with Japan.
Immediate concern is getting its oil from the Persian Gulf to its
And
East
China
Asia
doesn't
borders.
have incredible renewable potential. They must. They're as
So
big
they
as
have
us.
little. They do have some, because most of the world is not in a good enough geography to produce renewables.
China
there is
is.
some part of China that is, but it's not sufficient for their population. Even
Really?
the halved 2050 population. Dude, I'm not an expert on this. I'm going by Peter Zeihan's sort of take on it.
Dude, I'm
and
gonna
his
check
thing
this guy
is
out.
that it's not enough. Only the US is self-sufficient in all of these areas.
Well, they always have been.
They're just and he doesn't talk about Australia because according to him we're not worth talking about because we're too insignificant,
Fair enough.
Yeah.
and New Zealand as well for that matter.
Very
Well, that's
fair.
I mean, come on. They're not significant enough for us to talk about.
He is saying the places that are fucked are Europe, for one, not all of Europe but a lot of Europe, because he's saying
Europe
that
would be, yeah.
they're not energy self-sufficient. They've invested trillions of dollars into renewables, but they forgot that the sun doesn't shine in their countries.
See, but these are all Republican talking points, which is exactly him. Like, because I know from you talking about it, it's just like, before we begin, I'd just like to get two things obviously clear, right? America's the greatest country on earth, always has been, always will be. And also, Ronald Reagan was the greatest president of all time. Now, let's get into geopolitics. It's like he's clearly coming from that angle.
Is he?
Well, I'm sure he is coming from that angle. He seems like a patriot. He spent most of his time in the State Department and like center-right think tank. So
Yeah, so he's like, I'm sure he's an educated man, but his whole worldview is grounded in what is best for the American machine.
one of the things he's arguing is that after he's saying basically because of this Russian war, which is going to continue for a long time, he also thinks that Russia is going to take over Ukraine at some point, all of Ukraine. But he thinks that our best bet for Russia not to go further and start attacking other NATO countries is to keep them bogged down in Ukraine. But what that means is that the energy supply is going to be low for the foreseeable future. The only energy supply that we would have is it would be coming from the Persian Gulf. So countries like Saudi Arabia, Iran, which are going to be constantly fighting because the America isn't going to secure Saudi Arabia like I did back in the day. Because they don't care about the energy coming from there because they're energy self-sufficient. So there's going to be wars in the Middle East over this too. And Middle East is extremely food insecure, and there's going to be massive starvations over there. So energy supply from the Middle East is going to be hindered by this process too, which means that East Asia is not going to get all of its energy.
See, this is the thing that I immediately flagged when you told me about this, was the fact that he's saying that Germany gets 8% of its energy from renewable sources. I know that that is a Republican talking point and that it's not true. And I think it's actually closer to 40%. And
They have
the
a
way that they
capacity
argue
of
around
60%, but their efficiency rate is 8%, apparently.
Yeah, but see, I remember reading some big debunk of that, and I'd have to go back because it was a long time ago that I read that, and it's just, it's one of those things that they just chuck out to just keep the idea going that you need gas, you need petrol, you need bloody nuclear energy. It's one of those things coming from that place, and obviously, if he's coming from all of these think tanks like the Cato Institute, he's just going to say that and move on.
He's also saying that once the energy supply gets disrupted, poor countries particularly, are either going to they'll only have two options. Either they starve in darkness or they go back to coal, which means that there's going to be re-emphasis on making energy through coal in countries like India, Pakistan.
That's not good.
And he's saying there's no other way for them to be able to do it. So, which is going to be pretty shitty for countries like us that are going to be affected by climate change.
How does he explain the fact that renewable energy just keeps going online at quicker and quicker rates than
in
even
certain
the
areas.
most optimistic predictions are? It's not certain areas, though. It's global.
Well, he's saying that there's a few places where renewable energy is viable. And Europe and Germany is not one of them.
I'm going to have to look this up. I'm going to look this up again because I swear to God that I remember this being just such a thing that they kept emphasizing. That exact point. And that's what makes me feel really fishy about this guy. Just the fact that he predicted Ukraine falling. I'm sure that somebody who is grounded in State Department geopolitics is right a lot of the time about this stuff. But they are also, this is the other thing as well. He's just so proud of America's energy independence. It's another State Department thing.
Yeah, no,
his
all
whole
of this is true.
view is posed in that position.
But the other thing that he's not wrong about is the energy supply crisis from the Middle East too, because he's right that in the sense that, dude, right now, Saudi Arabia is regularly being attacked by proxies of Iran, where Yemen would launch rocket launchers on Saudi oil fields, and they would destroy 10%, 20% of their capacity.
Yeah.
20 years ago, if that happened, Iran would be nuked. Today, when it happens, America doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
So it's already happening.
Yeah.
And so Saudi Arabia is now in a position where they're like, they can't really do anything about this. The whole sort of status quo in the Middle East is going to change. And when that happens, there's usually a period of turmoil. And when that period of turmoil would happen, not only Russia is in crisis, but so is the Middle East. That sort of eliminates most of your energy. So oil is going to go through the roof. If we think that oil prices are bad right now, they're only going to get worse.
You guys actually keep talking amongst yourselves. I'm going to look at this 8% quote.
Well, I just got a bicycle, so I'm all right.
Damn.
But the good thing is that
energy independent.
Well, I still haven't got the pedals, so I will be energy independent.
Yeah, but you
very
use
soon.
your bicycle to power them going.
No, my guitar pedals. I mean,
Oh, your pedals.
my actual
Your
pedals of the. But fuck, my guitar pedals. Nah, my guitar pedals.
What brand, miss? They're asking, what brand is it?
I can't remember. It's some Italian. Nice Italiano bike. It's vintage. Do you know how much I got it for?
How much?
$30. Some guy who was like on Marketplace.
Didn't you bring that bicycle that's literally in
That's
that
not mine.
balcony?
Give me
Whose
some
bicycle
credit.
is that, Jordan?
It's what's his name? What's his name? I forgot his name. Anyway, it's his. I wouldn't ride a mountain bike. You don't ride a mountain bike in the city.
Yeah, see, look, 2020, the share of power consumption in Germany, power consumption, we're not talking about potential. We're talking that they went up to 46% in 2020.
46%. Maybe.
They're up to 46%. It's a talking point. It's not true.
Is it? Look, I'll have to go deeper into it. That's his take, that it is not sustainable. In fact, he was saying that Germany, because of this, is now investing in...
No, they're definitely right about that
coal.
point that they can't get all of their energy. They're not renewable energy self-sufficient. That is
Yeah,
true.
which is why
but they're not at 8% at the moment. They were at nearly half capacity. They'd be at half capacity now. It's 2022.
Then why are they
Gosh.
obsessed with that Nord Stream pipeline?
Sorry, I'm just responding because it's a dumb thing.
Because they still need half their energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, clean energy generated 46% of Germany's net public power.
Well, dude, I think the part about the business as usual is not going to go on is probably right, though.
But this sort of sounds like at least it's not. I think a de-escalating of like global superpowers going to war is a good thing, even if it reacts in smaller. Well, look, the reaction.
But it sucks for us because our sort of affluence comes from the U.S. saying, "We've got the oceans covered. Send your ships. No one's gonna do anything."
I thought our
about
affluence came from trading with Asia.
Yeah, but we trade with Asia through the oceans, which are secured by the U.S.
Like, dude,
That's why they're our ally.
but if China's more desperate for resources, then they're gonna get them off us.
Yeah,
You know, they're not gonna be like,
they look. Most of their resources, their main concern isn't even us. It's actually the oil from the Middle East.
I know, but I'm not saying it's not like a death knell of Australia. I don't think.
No. Australia is relatively secure. The only aspect of it is that climate change is sort of fucking us over pretty badly, and that's not
Yeah.
going to get fixed anytime soon. So certain areas, like it's also like the lotto. He was explaining how some part of Australia, because of climate change, is some part of Australia which was like producing agriculture was experiencing effects of climate change by increased temperatures, but the increased temperatures were mostly during daytime, which was ruining the crops. Whereas in Minnesota, the same sort of temperature rose, but it rose at night, which was actually better for crops.
Shit.
So it's like it's one of those lottos. So we, generally speaking, our future is secure, unlike Middle East and rest of Asia. However, our access to the Asian market is probably going to get screwed over.
Well, not necessarily.
Hopefully not.
Can't we
Hopefully
trade
not.
with like South America from Perth?
South America?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Go Indian Ocean?
We've got the Pacific, which
Indian Ocean.
I'll give him this. He's definitely saying
No,
this as
not
well
the-
about Germany, that the interruption in pipelines from Russia-Ukraine conflict is forcing them to prolong their use of gas. But they're all saying
They're
the same
apparently
thing. The government is saying that they actually have 80% capacity
Shit.
for renewable energy in the country. He's saying 60%.
Well, hopefully, and if it works out, then okay, North Europe is safe. But what about the rest of the fucking world? You know,
But they'll be on the same thing. This is the thing that's insane. It's like, they're like, sun doesn't shine. Yes, it does. It shines every day. It shines every day across the planet. And this idea that, like, you're not getting energy from wind turbines and solar farms when the sun isn't shining and the wind isn't blowing. You're just getting it at a reduced capacity, which means that you just need to put more renewables online. And then you also have the alternatives of tidal power and, like, what's that thing under the ground? The thing that Iceland uses, volcanoes.
Oh.
Not that, but, like, Germany has their version of that.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
he's
hydro.
saying that the next big superpower in Europe is not actually Germany; it's going to be France.
Come on, Croatia.
And why? Why?
Their demography.
Power. Is that it?
I think part of it. He's also saying that nuclear power.
Which is why they're taking them offline. This guy sucks.
Check him out. I'm
And
just giving you an intro.
Germany's doing
of
the
this
same
guy.
thing. It's such a lie where they're always just being like, France has 80% nuclear power. Again, it's stats that are wrong. Like, they're down to 70%. They're moving.
Dude, you
want to
hear a really crazy call of his? He is saying that the Chinese, the current state of China is going to collapse within this decade.
Nah, this guy's a crackpot.
Big calls. He's what they
Yeah.
call a futurist.
Maybe he was right. Like, a broken clock is right twice a day. Maybe he was right on Ukraine, but not necessarily. That's a
And you
possibility.
know what else? This is something that you hear about futurists, because I remember listening to someone that was doing, like, an overall survey of futurists. You know what the general consensus between them? They were able to very accurately predict from 1950 to now very well with 30-year prospects on the outward from probably doing the same things that he was doing. They're saying they're down to like 5 to 10 years. They're saying very quickly it'll be 3 to 5 years, and after that it'll be 18 months.
Wait,
because
what's that?
Technology
Renewables.
is just moving.
Oh,
You
yeah.
look at the
Yeah,
graph
yeah.
of technological
Yeah, it's
explosions
mental.
in the world, right?
Yeah.
Like, it just goes like,
Yeah, just up.
like 1800, and there's like a slight bump, and then it goes 1900, slight bump, and then it just goes when Friends went on air, and then it just goes.
A direct correlation between Joey and the invention of MySpace.
He's also saying that the tech progress is going to slow down severely, if not halt, because
Really?
tech progress is very
An affluent thing.
No. It's dependent on manufacturing. So if you're building some robot in Japan,
You need the chips.
You need parts from Russia. You need parts from Australia.
Well,
you
that's-
need parts from Brazil.
That's kind of a good point.
and which was sort of the system in this globalized sort of
Well, good.
free
Let's
trade
go analog
world.
again. Fuck the metaverse.
Yeah, and so he's saying that the technological progress is going to slow down as a result of the broken supply chains too.
All good things.
It is the Australian wet dream. It's just like, wait, so does
Get
that
out.
mean we don't have to care about anyone else?
Take your chips with you.
Only chips I care about is Smith's chips. Made in Australia.
And they start powering our computers as well. Yeah, what do you know? They've got more memory in them.
I'll go back to a typewriter.
That was an intro to.
Gladly.
Yeah.
Sick as screens and that screensaver that comes on. It doesn't even
I
work.
know, it's annoying. The screensaver.
But can we move on to like more important issues, because these are what's happening in the Amber Heard trial and how good is Top Gun?
Thank you, finally.
What do we?
The thing that America's actually self-sufficient. Tom Cruise films.
All right, let's start with the Tom Cruise films then.
Top Gun.
What's
All right.
the Top Gun review, Miss?
Edge of your seat action. 1980s cringe core dialogue. Like blatant American propaganda to join the Navy.
Yes.
Everything you want.
Yes.
No cucked shit. Nothing. No like lame SJW stuff. All action all the time. Tom Cruise has sex. Tom Cruise gets his shirt off.
Yes. Is he
And,
still packing?
He's still killing it.
That's my boy.
I won't ruin it, but there's a lot of throwback actors, which is just like, what do you know? That's
still
awesome.
alive.
Really cool.
Is Val Kilmer in it?
I do want to
'Cause
say.
you know Val Kilmer can't speak anymore.
I do know that.
He
very
watched the
sad.
movie.
I don't want to ruin anything. No spoilers. No
So Val
spoilers.
Kilmer's in it.
No spoilers.
Val Kilmer has a monologue, despite not being able to speak, that takes up 20 minutes of the film.
No, he's got that thing where he puts on his neck and
Wow. Well,
He sounds, yeah. It doesn't sound that fucky. You just sounded like you were smoking a bong.
they do a voiceover for him. Some actor does like his thing.
Oh, shit.
Because he is now what's considered a disabled actor.
wow. So it's Val Kilmer with Morgan Freeman's voice.
I knew you could do it, Maverick. Batman was waiting for you in the sky.
Wait, so what's your rating of Top Gun out of 10?
Well, look, having said all that, obviously my rating has to take into account every movie ever made, like the history of movies, like from like the greatest movie ever made.
Pootie Tank, yeah.
Pootie Tang. Yep. That's the gold standard.
The history of film. I mean, Christ, it's on an easy bar. It's on a high bar. So like in that regard, I would say like, 3 out of 5. But for what it is, or maybe even 2.5 out of 5. But what it is, for what you are going in there for what it is in the world of like action, like action, kicking ass, Tom Cruise movie, 5 out of 5. For in that specific genre, in action, 5 out of 5. But in terms of like, the history of film, like 2.5. Like some of the dialogue is so cringe. I was just like,
Can you give me one line?
I can't even remember. That's how like unmemorable the dialogue was. But like you're not watching that for the dialogue. I think it was the kind of thing of like, an action sequence happens and then someone's just like, I don't know, sort of just like kick ass, something like that.
Right.
I don't know. There was something, you will love it. I think there was some just stuff too, like very cheesy 80s. I mean, you will die. It is 100% true to like that 80s like kick-ass genre. You'll love it.
So the soundtrack is 80s.
Yeah, but they had
Kenny
to,
Loggins doing it, please.
Yes.
He's doing it.
That's still in there, but
Go, Kenny.
But they did have to sneak in some like Lady Gaga or some shit. But she's pretending she's from the 80s, so it's very in the zone of that style of music. So there's some
I'll allow it.
Yeah, and there's some like 70s rock. Like it's just it nailed it.
Sorry,
But some of the
sorry, but Maverick is a 10. You're a wrong Slav.
I just said it was a 5. I said 5 in the zone of
No,
that.
some people are saying you're right Slav too.
Yeah, I'm saying like
But this is what our friend summed it up really well. He was saying it's simultaneously the best and worst film ever made.
that's exactly what it is. It's simultaneously the best and worst film ever made, which brings it to 50% because some of the dialogue. But like,
and that's what the comments are reflecting.
but the riff is so cool. Like,
Still there? Has it been?
Same.
It's so weird.
Brilliant.
Why would you change that?
You can't.
And the fucking.
Is Danger Zone in there?
I think they might have left that out just because they were like, we don't want it to be like a parody.
I suppose it's only me that wanted it to be.
I mean, it's too much. It's too much to be like, welcome to the danger zone. It's just like, the first movie does exist, But it is very, honestly, like, put it this way. Apart from, like, a couple of cringe lines where I'm just like, oh, what? I can't not laugh at that. You're trying to be serious. I can't not laugh at that.
But that's great.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. This
Exactly.
is
You'll
the
love
thing that
it.
I hate about our generation. Everything has to be self-referential and ironic, and I know that I've made a career out of doing that because I'm just a product of my generation. But I like the fact that Tom Cruise comes from a time where you could seriously make the film Cocktail.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great.
It's some of the best fun I've had in a cinema for a long, long
So
time.
Tom
I'd
Cruise
see it again.
is-
I'd see it again in the movies. The action is just, even though the dialogue sometimes is just like, what are you talking about? The action is insane. It's all real. They filmed it all in jets.
Yeah, because apparently he didn't want to do green screens at all. He was like, no, we're going to do it.
And there's a scene too. I mean, obviously he's not fine. There's a pilot behind them, and they're just acting, but they're in there.
Doesn't Tom Cruise know how to fly a jet?
Well, there is a scene in there where it is Tom Cruise flying one.
No.
Yeah, and it's just like...
And you can tell.
It's amazing. I'm just like, this is not a normal man. This is not a normal human being. How are you doing this? He's just like, and it's just like, yeah. And it's just like, how are you? How when did you get your license? Like, he has no fear. He just doesn't have any. It's amazing. I don't know how anyone. I don't know how I don't know how nobody died on that set. Genuinely, I just don't understand how they didn't die.
I'm sure there's a safety team that is being paid millions of dollars to ensure nobody dies, but
You can't insure it though, because if you're like going through canyons like and like being like doing these crazy stunts, there's always going to be.
I'm sure Tom Cruise was doing his scenes, but the other actors weren't doing it.
No, but there's still a fighter pilot flying, but they can fuck up. You know, it wasn't like they weren't like just being like. It wasn't like a jet, just like it was like close to the ground and shit. And anyway, dude, you will die because it's basically the best action movie ever mashed in with like American Pie.
2 thumbs up for Top Gun Maverick.
You will die. You will.
Yeah, Jordan would love
I
it.
gotta go.
Dude,
I gotta go.
You need to see it. It's so
And
good.
see, this is the other thing, guys. Can you let me know in the comments? Was Nicolas Cage being extremely self-referential a letdown?
Nicolas Cage.
That could go either way with the unbearable
Cage.
talent of
Oh,
being
I haven't
Nicolas
seen
Cage,
that.
or
I haven't
whatever it's
seen
called.
that.
Yeah, because those are the 2 big films, surely. It is really sad that we're just never going to have
It's really.
as Hollywood star like Tom Cruise
I know.
ever again.
It would be really cool if this movie sort of almost reignited this thing of like, you can make movies that are, they can be a little bit silly and a little bit fun, like it's okay. You don't have to be like, you don't have to be making some profound statement all the time or some arty
Which,
master.
let's be
You
honest,
don't have to
is
do that.
never profound anyway.
Yeah, well, sometimes, but it's like, there needs to be all shades, and it's like, it's cool to see an action movie that's like essentially Fast and the Furious, but not shit. It's like, let's make it good and
Well, Fast and the
Thank
Furious
God.
is people do like it.
I know, but it's not like that. It's not like that. It's really not.
It's like his Mission Impossible movies. Because
It's better than that. It's
There's
one of the
what-
best movies he's done in a very, very, very long time. Like, I was literally going, like, it was like IMAX. I was like gripping I was just going, like I was gripping my seat.
Wow.
A lot.
I gotta
do it.
see this
Yeah,
movie.
I gotta see
You
it
got to
too.
see it, dude.
Look, okay.
It's so
can you
good.
compare it to what the last film of his that I thought was just pure
Oblivion?
calm? Oblivion was incredible, but
Edge of
again,
Tomorrow?
I like that because it was a bit of a joke. Edge of Tomorrow. Edge of Tomorrow was brilliant. Where does that sit?
Was Edge of Tomorrow the one where he's reliving?
The same day.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Way better than that.
Way better.
10 times better. Way better.
God damn Miss Love.
Is
So
it better
Set
than
a high
John Wick?
bar.
Yeah, John Wick sucks anyway. I don't like
So
John Wick.
Tom Cruise is the undisputed king of action.
Dude, this is solidified. Dude, before I was kind of like there was levels of irony where I'm like, oh yeah, he's cool, but like he's kind
But
of
Vin
tacky.
Diesel has been it.
Yeah, but like now I'm just like, the crown belongs in one place and one place only, atop that short man's head.
Yep.
It's rad. And Miles Teller's awesome.
I don't know who that is.
The other guy with the moustache.
The one that's like, you're a maverick, Top Gun.
Is his son. He plays his son.
He plays his son.
Yeah.
So is he a jet fighter pilot, is he?
Oh yeah.
Just, man, I really hope this isn't a last hurrah.
I hope not. It's so good.
And it's also just incredible that he is a grandfather. Sure.
Is he?
Right? Like, he's of that age.
It's so funny because it's
Like,
like,
does he
he's
look
like
old?
he's
well,
almost
like
60.
he.
How
Yes,
old
he
is
does
Tom
look old. I think he's 60. Like the thing is, he looks great in day to day, but then when you're seeing Tom Cruise now in 4K IMAX, you're like, there's like cracks on your line, cracks on your
yeah,
on
he's
your
60
face.
years old.
But he pulls it off. He pulls that shit off, man. He pulls it off. I'm telling you, it's so good.
Fuck, he's a good-looking 60-year-old.
He is.
He's just
I'll
the
give you-
world's greatest man.
I'll give you another
Hands
tacky
down.
line. There was a part where he's flying, and then the guy, like, doing the intercom, just goes, "He's the fastest man in the world."
Dude, maybe there's something. Like, maybe Scientologists are onto something.
No, they are. They really are.
Are
There's
they?
some pamphlets you should read.
What
on
are they onto? I'm intrigued.
No,
I
I
just watched The
truly do
Master.
think this. Everybody says it's a cult, and it's like, yes, it is a cult, but it also has a lot of neuro-linguistic programming in it. Too much neuro-linguistic programming. But I think that when they're always... It's no coincidence that there are a lot of actors that are Scientologists, and I think it's because they condition you like a dog to be a succeeding machine. And it helps their services if there are Hollywood stars that are Scientologists, obviously. And so, yeah, when people always have all these horror stories of people just working for 8 cents an hour and getting beaten, I'm always thinking, yeah, but maybe they're just not the talented ones. I think that if you are probably of... sign up today. That's what I'm saying. Sign up today. I think that there probably is... There's probably a direct correlation between the philosophy of Scientology and your chances of succeeding if you don't go to the gold platinum member cast thing where they talk about 2 aliens having a fight under the tectonic plates.
Is it just an overpaid therapist?
They're kind of
an anti-therapist. They're screwing you up. They're screwing you up, but I do think that and Tom Cruise would accredit this, a lot of his demeanor and his energy comes from the teachings of Scientology.
He definitely has that proactiveness, isn't he? It's just kind of being like, like, you can do anything. It's like...
Because he's also their prophet.
Yeah.
Isn't he also their prophet?
Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Heaps of them.
L. Ron Hubbard's their prophet.
No, apparently Tom Cruise is like the king.
Oh, he's dead.
John Travolta's a Scientologist too, right?
Yeah, but
but who cares about him?
Sure.
I mean, the last movie he did was in a dress.
Didn't he shoot someone on set recently?
Sorry?
John Travolta.
Oh, no, that's the other guy.
Alec Baldwin. But John Travolta just shot someone on set. It wasn't an accident. He just did it.
Oh, I'm so happy for you guys to see it, though. Like, Jordan, you're going to just be like... You're gonna love it, dude. You're gonna love it. It's
I loved looking at the logo.
It's all around American fun. That's what it is.
Yeah, good old fashioned American fun.
So many American flags waving in the wind.
That's cool.
I'm so glad it's back.
They were also logistically smart about it, and that they never define who the enemy is. They just call it the enemy, which is smart in this climate.
Well, they did that in Top Gun, right?
I don't remember, but
or did they actually say like
the Russians?
Vladimir Putin at 10 o'clock.
I honestly don't remember, but either way, it's smart because it would be fucking so antagonizing.
Because they kind of don't have an enemy right now.
Well, it's just a good move because, it's like, dude, imagine if a war started over Top Gun.
It's probably the best reason for it. There's way lamer reasons.
The Top Gun wars and Top Guns were being used in the war. How ironic.
Yeah, and it's all over, is it a 10 out of 10 movie or an 8 out of 10 movie?
Yeah, exactly.
From one king to another, Johnny Depp.
He's another king. He is.
Yeah, I don't know much.
Oh, Johnny.
Because Jordan is like deep into the Johnny Heard.
I'm not as...
Who is
Johnny
it?
Depp and Amber Heard. I kind of got off. I watched the bits and pieces of it, but what are the key takeaways? So the jury is now thinking on who's going to win, Jordan?
I don't know enough about the American system, but I'm guessing that Amber Heard is going to win
because
because
hard to
her
prove.
defense just came up and said, if you don't give Amber Heard a complete pardon, then you're saying that the First Amendment doesn't exist. You don't hate the Constitution.
And everyone's just like, she's got me. That small...
Tom Cruise is on the jury. Damn it!
That small hobbity looking woman who's like a librarian but somehow a lawyer too. You can't think that.
Yeah.
And what's up with this Johnny Depp's lawyer being like his new girlfriend or some shit?
She's hot. That's what's up with that.
Are they? They're not dating.
No, they're
sure.
not saying that. But I've seen like TikToks where they're like, they cut Johnny Depp looking at his lawyer, and then there's like hearts that appear, and he's like, "I came here to fight my ex, but I found my love."
I mean, everybody on Earth wants to date that woman. She's awesome. You know what else it proves as well? Take note, kids. Competence is hot.
Yeah.
It's really cool seeing someone at the top of their game killing it. And she's so good. And she's a way better actor than Amber Heard. And she was having to play against Amber Heard the whole time. If you know anything about acting, a lot of it is reacting. And she just killed the energy of every scene. But she was still delivering day after day that peak moment in A Few Good Men over and over and over.
I did watch her like grilling. I don't know what you can say. Obviously the law term isn't grilling, but what's it called when you're
Cross-examination.
yeah. Cross-examining.
Cross grilling.
Cross-examination.
Amber Heard, and like that was it was very tactical, like the way that the Johnny Depp's team, it was very tactical. He's got 4 lawyers, right? And like the way that each lawyer has their sort of specialty, and like it was smart to put like a young hot go-getter to go against Amber Heard, because then it kind of kills the narrative of like old man mansplaining to Amber Heard. Like it was very like methodical, and she went hard.
Yeah,
you know how she was trying to get those getcha moments? She was just like, she'd say stuff. Obviously, it'd be so hard to do, but she was trying to get that moment, a reaction moment where Amber Heard been like, "It's true, damn it, you're right. Is that what you wanted to hear? God damn it, I hate you all, especially the people in the jury." She was trying to get that, but she didn't. But there was moments where she would lead up with like painting a scenario, and then it's kind of like, this is what happened, this is what happened, this is what happened. Okay, logical conclusion isn't. She's like, you raped Johnny Depp, didn't you, Amber? No, she didn't say that. But like, to that level of thing, I mean, like, you chopped off his face. Heavy shit, like just being like, you made up this whole thing. You've never been abused. Like heavy shit, just be like, the only reason you have a career is because of Johnny Depp. This basically said that. Yeah, and then she's just like, no, actually, like, it would, it'd be fucking, it wouldn't
And
be
what's
easy.
this thing about like them fighting over what movie sucks more, 22 Jump
That was
Street?
half the film. I mean, it's a film. That's the thing, because it is. It's a movie. It was just for the world's longest movie, a 4-week-long film. Loved every minute of it. It might be better than Top Gun Maverick. I'll have to check. But it was,
just as much action.
And it was so good seeing the arguments of 2 celebrities going at it. That was incredible, because behind closed doors,
the egos are ridiculous.
But I loved it. Didn't you?
Nah, it made me just be like,
the fact that they would have domestics over 21 Jump Street with a terrible show, Johnny. We're going to go there. Bad decisions. Aquaman, Amber. Aquaman.
I know, but it's just destroyed my romanticized perspective of Hollywood, of like the actors.
You didn't expect them?
No.
I increased my romanticism.
No, I was so naive. I thought they would sit around talking about like Jung and shit, and they just sit there being like, my movie's better than yours. No, mine's better. It's like, you people are fucked.
Yeah, but come on.
It was funny.
Yeah, in a Hollywood fucked way. It's still glitzy. Okay. What more do you want? You really expected Amber Heard to be talking about Jung. There's no way that woman should ever read a psychology book.
I don't know.
She is a psychology book.
I obviously have
Case
a
study.
romanticized perspective of like what these actors talk about.
Okay, but after the trial, do you think he did that shit?
Look.
Yes.
No. Unequivocally. No, look, this is what I'd say.
Guilty.
I think it was obviously I don't know, but it was obviously a very toxic relationship. Both.
You know why it was? It was because of her. That was why it was toxic.
Look, I think that like being completely like, let me finish. I think that having someone that's like full on drug addict, it could be. There's obviously, I'm not saying like he wasn't, I'm not saying I don't think he beat or anything, but like I think it would be frustrating. It wouldn't be. It was a toxic relationship, is what I think.
She
Yeah,
must
but
have
is
known
he
what
a
she was
wife
getting
beater?
into. Look at him.
I think I don't know if he fucking hit her ever or whatever, but he might have like slapped her or
So
something. I don't know.
You're part
But
of
I
the
think,
jury. Who do you?
I
vote
think
in
that
favor of?
I think that the bigger question is, did she fake the injuries? And I think that's like unequivocally yes. And like that is, if you like fake various injuries and then just come out saying, I think that she's a lot more guilty than him. Do you know what I mean? In terms of like faking, and I'm pretty sure she like sliced his finger off and she punched him. He had a black eye.
And
So
she
I think,
admitted to it numerous times.
yeah, she's like, I hit you. He never, there's no proof that he had hit her. And I wouldn't be surprised
What
if he
about
never
that
touched
video
her.
where he's like beating up the cabinet and shit?
Yeah, you
That's
know what
the-
happened that day? He found out his mum died and she was provoking him into anger and then sold that footage to TMZ.
Jesus.
And she was smiling creepily at the end.
And you know, and this is the thing
Which
too.
they didn't show in court, apparently, her smiling at the end of it.
No?
Yeah.
But this is the thing too. Like there was a.
I don't know. Maybe they did. But the
evidence-
video that I saw didn't have it, and the comments said, "And you conveniently left out the last part where she was smiling." Because there's also this media campaign.
Yeah.
So it started with most of the population just thinking Amber Heard is psychotic, and they're all pro Johnny Depp. And then basically the ones that voted for Teals decided that was problematic. And so there's this new media push that says you stop looking for perfect victims.
Yeah, see, it's so stupid. I hate this so much. It was because the press can't get out of their mind that stupid jingoism of believe women. They can't move away from that from a degree. They're sitting there and saying that Amber Heard is the victim because of the online abuse that she gets. And let's not forget, I read this in an article. I've got a video coming out about it. One of them, I think it was in Vogue, was writing, everybody's focusing on the fact that Amber Heard sliced Johnny Depp's finger off. That's not the thing that she's outraged. What she's outraged by is that he used that finger to slut shame her. What? And this is what we're talking. These are the people that get to determine reality. They're that. The reason that they're all sympathising with Amber Heard, I think, is because they're all nutbags like Amber Heard. They're like, yeah, I'd shit in the bed if I was pissed off at someone. Right? Like, I do think that. They're just crazy.
I mean, I think like online.
Yeah, but like I think maybe part of it also has to do with like some women are genuinely abused, and I suppose
what's that got to do with anything? This has got nothing to do with this case.
Yeah,
that's so stupid. I hate that argument where they're just saying that like, well, you know, like this is just the fact that Johnny Depp is actually a victim in this situation is bad for other domestic violence victims.
I guess what they're saying is Johnny Depp should be collateral damage.
Huh?
I think what they're saying is Johnny Depp can be collateral damage.
What, like,
yeah, that's what they're saying. They're really saying that, and they're also, because they're so screwed up in their own heads and they hate the fact that the common pleb has a voice now and that they can write their own narrative and no one cares what they think anymore, and they're still just trying to write what they write about other people in defamation cases, where they just get to interpret reality because they're the ones that are behind the closed courtroom doors, and so they can say this is what happened in court today, and you can't do that because everyone's watching the court case. And just like in a lot of certain defamation claims, if you saw the arguments of the people that are clearly wrong and you saw their lawyer arguing it, the average person, as is clearly shown, would see that it is a laughingstock. Their arguments are terrible. They shouldn't. No normal human being would look at that and think that's a fair point. But because you're in the court system, because you're so institutionalized by it, this is the real problem with it, and this is why I love that this is determined by a jury, is that even though like defamation laws are very different in the US, it's basically the exact opposite. So they'll probably find innocent of her anyway, but that doesn't matter because it's the court of public opinion that you're trying to get. But the thing that really angers me about cases here is the fact that judges who have no insight to the average person and how they think at all, they spend their entire life, they are that Peter Overton cyborg sitting at their like high desk for the rest of their life, but they're not cyborgs, they're goblins. They're those Gringotts goblins that live for 1,000 years. And they do live for 1,000 years because they have this beautiful memory of cases that happened in the 1500s. They're really good at citing that. But what does that got to do with being the common person? The common person does not know the case of Smitherson's versus the Taffy Guild of 1437.
Speak for yourself.
Well, yes, all right. You do have an in-depth knowledge of that. Clearly.
No, but that's a good point.
Okay,
so but the fact that they are sitting there and they're saying like, and because they live in that world, right? I know that judges would be listening to Amber Heard's lawyers' arguments that are ridiculous and just morally abhorrent. And they would be sitting there and being like, yes, it's a very clever interpretation of that law. Points to Gryffindor.
Yeah.
They'd be giving points to that other side that does not deserve it.
So, I suppose we can safely say that whatever happens in this case, the public opinion, the court of public opinion has ruled in favor of Johnny Depp.
Court of public opinion is absolutely.
I mean,
there's
now,
but you can see the disconnect in the press class and all of them sympathising with Amber Heard, and it's just like you realise how manufactured their values and ideals are, and how the average person just does not associate with these people at all. They don't live in the same world.
Apparently, Johnny Depp wants to join the Avengers universe to prove that he's back with a bang.
With a vengeance.
Can you imagine?
Vengeance.
He's so old.
Because Tony Stark...
I'm
what's his-
Drunky, the Thor's cousin.
Yeah. With the power to black out and forget many days of my life at once.
Okay,
I think
He's just Jack Sparrow.
I
tell
would say
me
he's innocent.
what
but yeah, I
star
don't think
sign
he-
is
absolutely.
what star sign is Amber Heard?
What?
Can you guess?
Scorpio?
Taurus?
She seems a Scorpio, but she's a Taurus.
Okay.
And Johnny
the
Depp
second
is a,
best one.
Johnny Depp is a Gemini.
He would be a Gemini.
What's a Gemini?
actually. Gemini's 2. Gemini are very sociable people that like to mingle around in parties, which is exactly that. I
And
mean,
do
his best
cocaine?
friend was Hunter S. Thompson.
Yeah.
for Christ's sake.
And do cocaine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
of course.
that's part of partying, you know.
Yeah.
And Taurus are obviously crazy, right?
Strong.
well, yeah,
They're
like-
stubborn, right? No?
Yes, they're very stubborn.
Well, what are they? I don't know.
They're stubborn.
Surefire, methodical, get their way no matter what. I suppose, look...
The only reason why I bring up the star signs is because there's a lot of comments saying, stop talking about the case and talk about star signs.
Yeah.
Finally! You came around!
Finally!
See, look, it's all right to admit that you're wrong every now and then, everybody.
Like, finally. It makes sense.
Yeah, look, it's just very obvious. Anyone who's ever been in a relationship with someone who has had BPD, you watch that case and you start getting what she claims she has of PTSD. That's what you start getting when you look at Amber Heard and how she argues and how she's clearly just on stage fake crying, but
think she needs
clearly
help.
believes it.
There's something, like, I do actually, like, I think that she's guilty of a million things, and I honestly think Johnny Depp is more or less innocent. I think that, like,
What do you mean more or less? I think he's completely innocent.
Actually, I don't know what the case is exactly about, but I'm saying, like,
He's guilty of being a rock star.
like,
he's guilty of that.
like, he might. Yeah, I don't know what the exact case. I don't know. I don't think he would have hit her.
No, but you know
so
what's
I should say innocent, really.
Whatever happens in this case,
what I'm saying
we
is-
know that Amber Heard's career is kind of dead.
well, was it ever
But
alive?
my point is, like, you got to feel like
Didn't Johnny Depp get her Aquaman?
Yeah.
there's got to be something.
She got so
She got
pissed off.
so angry. That was the only thing she like lost her cool in the entire time.
What I'm saying is, like, it's like, you know, if she's like, I'm not saying it should determine, you know, if someone's like got a mental illness, it shouldn't it's like, oh, well, it's fine. They can't just, you still like done all these things that are like
Saying send her to
criminal.
asylum.
No, what I'm saying is, like, I
Execute.
still kind of feel bad for her because it's like, I'm not like, yes, you're right. I'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But then it's like, there's something wrong with her. It would be exhausting to fake, you know, like, even seeing her like on the stand, it's just like, it seems exhausting. It seems like an exhausting existence.
Yeah, she would definitely have that. Having said that, she ruined a brilliant man's career, and I think she should have the book thrown at her. So she knows what domestic violence is actually.
I can't wait for the Netflix doco that comes out about the case.
It'll be like a movie.
But see, this is the
There'll be
whole
a
thing. It's just
movie.
going to be nowhere near as good. Just stay away from it, Netflix, please.
Yeah, but then
Have
we
a
could
conscience
also
for once.
find out what's actually going through the minds of the judge and the lawyers at the time.
And it will be a complete fiction, and it won't be what they're actually thinking. But I do like that aspect of it, I suppose. But Ali, do yourself a favor. Don't do anything for the next month and just watch the whole thing, because every part of it is incredible.
Even I fell off the wagon. I was like, "This is still going, Jesus Christ! We're still talking about Aquaman, Jesus!" Like, I'm not super up to date.
Why?
I'm like, I don't know. I was like, surely it's all been discussed. Like, isn't it what else can be? They were hauling out like the janitor. So I'm like, so you raked up leaves at one of mansion number 3, didn't you? See? Did you see anything? Care. Like, is this necessary? I suppose, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer.
All right, thank you guys for joining us today. We hope you appreciate tonight's podcast, and sign up to Patreon on Friendly Jordies podcast Patreon to listen to the Up Late which we're going to record right after having dinner.
Sign up. Which Ali is cooked. I'm so
I cooked today.
excited.
Want to know our review of Ali's meal? Sign up to the Patreon.
That's the only
and you
way.
will get an exclusive.
Literally the only way you will find out how good his meal is.
But
to
if I
sign up.
may tout our podcast that is up late, it's pretty good.
It's pretty good. It is.
Pretty good. It's worth the money.
It's the Australian cum town. Come on.
All right, see you
It
guys.
definitely is. See you guys. I'm the fat Greek. See ya. Bye.
Bye.